y'all, it's Diane with Shawcraft One and my old barn door, and barn door treasures on eBay and Digital Diane Designs on Etsy for digitals only. So today I thought we could play with our book pages, our digitals, our coffee dyed pages, and maybe even some scrapbook and paper too, to share a few of the tips and tricks and hints and whatever else I use to age papers and make them look a little bit more authentically aged, like it naturally happened. So sometimes, we can do too much and make it look like it's prefabricated, which most of the time I do. I am very extra, so sometimes I do go too far. But anyways, so I've got some little, these are, the little leaf pages, like the front and the back page in a book. When you first open your book, that first blank page. But I take those out, and a lot of them I'll emboss, and I use the natural aging. I don't know if you can tell in this video, but it just has some very light natural aging around the edges of the page, and I like that. I like that look. So that's just an idea of something you can do with those extra pages that you don't really know what to do with. Some of them are color pages, and those emboss beautifully as well. And I'll just take this whole little page and put it in a journal just like it is, because it's so pretty. So you can use coffee dyed pages, you can use book pages. This is a digital that I got from, I think her name is DigitalFit, but I'm not sure. I'll try to put a link in the box below. And then these are some of my digitals, just a few of the ones that I have of my invoices and my wallpaper digitals and things like that. I have some coffee dyed paper here that we can play with, and then I have some scrapbook and paper that I thought we might try and play with. So this is a new scrapbook and paper that I found. It's a line that I haven't seen before. And the name of it is Whaline, I think is how you pronounce it. Whaline. Try to put a link for that below too, because they had some really pretty papers. And I love how they have the same image on the front and the back. That's really cool. So I found them by accident when I was searching something else on Amazon, and I found this, and I loved the print, and so I bought a whole little pack. Here's another one of the pages. Hopefully there's not too bad of a glare, but I love these florals. So anyways, I thought we could take some of these and just show you a few of the tips and tricks that I do to make them look a little more authentically aged. So let's get started. Okay, so let's just start with a book page. This is this was an old Reader's Digest book that I coffee dyed in my last coffee dyeing video, and I just dipped the whole book in, and some of the pages are lighter, some of them are darker, but I love how it just gives a little bit of that coffee dyed look, or the coffee dyeing around the edges, and so you can kind of go with that. So basically I'm just going to fold up the edges, and sometimes this is all I will do. So I'll fold up the edges, and then I'll fold this in half, and then I'll put it in my journal like so, and you can fold it either way. So, but you can just do little folds, and that, because a lot of times when you open up a book or find documents, a lot of times you'll find that the pages are folded, and you don't have to fold them twice. You can fold them once, however you want to do it. But yeah, this one just looks fairly aged, and you can just tuck this in a signature just like this. And so this is one of the my billowing journals that's in the shop, and they're on sale for 30% off. But I was going to show you like this little page. Because of the way I put these journals together, you can slide this in anywhere, because these are the ones that I put together with the seam binding. And I'm going to do a video and show y'all how to do that too, but I just thought I would do the aging techniques first. Yeah, you can just tuck it in anywhere, and it looks like, it's an old page. I'm just going to tuck it right in here, and then I'm going to go to the other side and find where it's coming out, maybe. We shall see. Where'd it go? Oh, okay, I'm not going far enough. There we go. So, and I'm just going to pull this right in here. And so see, it just looks like an old aged page. You know, you've got the staining around the edges. So that's one thing I do. I mean, it's just something simple, like a simple little fold, you know. So that's one technique. Another way you can make it look old is just by a simple crease. So I would take this page and fold it in half to put it in a journal. And so if I wanted to make it look a little more older or a little more aged, then I could just kind of make a crease any way I want to make a crease. And it doesn't matter which way you make the crease. But the trick is to use your ink as an aging technique versus, you know, just inking around all the edges of something. Like I've always done, you know. So these are some new things that I'm learning, and I thought I would share them with you. So this is just the Tim Holtz vintage photo. And so I'm just going to take a little bit of this on my ink dauber. You need very little ink on your ink dauber, okay? And then I'm just going to take my page, fold my crease, and then instead of rubbing all the way across like we normally do, I'm just going to dab. I'm just going to dab a little bit here and there, and I'm not putting a lot. I am basically just touching that crease with my ink. And then I can open it up and say, okay, that's enough, or it's not enough. Or I can go to this side, and I can, another technique you can use instead of just touching is you can, instead of going this way with your ink dauber, go down. And just touch it a couple of different little places down the edge like that. And then when you open it up, it looks like that book page has been folded for a while. And then when you put it in your journal, you know, I would do some more to this, but I'm just kind of showing you one little element at a time, just for the video purposes. But then that looks like, you know, it's been like that for a while. And if you get too much ink on it or you don't like the look of it, I've just got a little saucer or a little tray, and I have a spray bottle of water. So just spray some water in there. You don't need a whole lot, because I'm just going to dip the very tip of my finger into that water. And then I'm just going to kind of take it and just barely rub it on there. And then you can take, well, I've lost my paper towel, so I'm just going to take this and rub it across. You know, so you just play around with it until you get the actual look that you're going for. And I kind of like that. I like the way it looks. So I would just put this in my journal as a page. Okay, and next I have some digitals. This digital I got off of eBay, Etsy. I can't remember. I think it's DigitalFit, but I want to make sure. I'll leave a link below for this digital. But I just want to show you some things that you can look at and mimic those when you're trying to age a document, to give you ideas of, you know, what some ways to age it. So, you know, looking at this document, you can tell that this was a very old document. It's got the staining. And then you have, you know, the creases where it looks like it's been folded for Lord knows how long. You know, these are some of my digitals here. And I was just going to show you a couple of things like this one. Looks like there was a hole there. So what you would do is just punch that hole on through, and I'll show you the technique in a minute, but use the natural things that you see on your documents. Like this one has a tear in it, so I would tear that out and kind of ink around that. It has a little crease here. Hopefully you can see it on video, but you can kind of tell where it was creased there. You can also tell where it was creased across here, and I'm not sure if you can see that really well or not. I hope you can. But like on this one, you can see where it was folded in the middle. This one, you can see where the hole was. And I can leave links for these digitals, or I'll just leave a link for the shop and you can go and check out the digitals, because there's a bunch of these ledger digitals in the shop for you to play with. But you can kind of see how you can tell the paper's folded over, and then here, you know, where they had the holes punched and probably had it in a folder or something. Okay, so over here you can see where it was kind of crinkled up. maybe a couple of little holes there, you know, a little crease here of where it looks like the invoice was folded. You've got the edges over here where it looks like, you know, these have been around for a long time with the way those are edged. Little cracks. And like here, this one's got staining and it has the creases. You can kind of see the creases. So you could actually use that to age yours. This is from an old report card from a very long time ago. But you see how they have the little cracking, and you can kind of see how it's not really dirty, but kind of that dingy look, you know. So just kind of take a peek at your documents that you have that are actually authentic vintage documents. Like this one's from 1927. You can see where the fold was there and there. This one not so much, but we can age this and make it look old. And let me see if there's any more. Like this one, I'm not real sure if you can see this real well because it's white against cream. But this document that I had just, you know, the edges were really, really rough and had tears and things in them. You can see where it was creased here. You can see where this was folded, the hole in the center there. You can see how the edges are not perfect. And then there's this one. You can see where it was creased there, and it looks like, you know, that's got some age to it. It looks like it was folded here at one point in time. Got some wrinkles here. So just kind of look at these and go, okay, how can I make my pages look like these and make them look a little older? So let's try it with a coffee dyed page. So I have this coffee dyed page. This is one of the pages I did back when I was doing the coffee dyeing video. So what I would do is take this and fold it up. Now I love how it has the hole there already. And you don't really have to do a whole lot of inking on it if it's coffee dyed pages, because it already has, you know, that coffee dyed look, that old aged look. But you could take it and, you know, some documents when you get them, they're folded. You know, they're folded in the corner. So just fold a corner. And to me, that makes it look like it's old. But if you want to make it look even older, I've got the Tim Holtz vintage photo here, and I'm not even probably going to dab this because I had some ink left on it. So I'm just going to kind of dab that across there really, really lightly. You kind of want to barely touch it. Hopefully you can see in the camera, but I am just literally barely touching that so that when you unfold it, it looks a little bit more natural than if I just took this ink dauber and just went from side to side, you know. So it gives you a little bit more of an aged look. And this one here, I could take this ink and just kind of scrub it a little bit on the little torn area right there. So it looks like, you know, it's been there for a while. And then I could take this one, just kind of dab a little there. Not a whole lot. You don't really need a whole lot. It gives it a little bit more of a natural look if you don't put a whole lot on there. So see, I just barely touched that, and then it looks a little more natural. Now you can, when you put this in your journal, you can leave it unfolded like that, or you can fold it back up, and then when whoever gets it, when they, you know, look at it, it looks like it's an actual old page. So that's another technique that you can do, is just with a fold and some ink. Let's try and see if we can make our scrapbooking paper look aged. And I'm not going to need this big of a piece. This is a 12 by 12. So I'm just going to take it and count. I'm going to go over to 8.5, and I'm going to take my ruler. And I don't have my usual ruler that I use. Let's see. I'm just using my mat for this. So let me get it to where you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to tear my page at 8.5. So I've counted 8 over and then half. And I'm going to tear this. And I don't mind if it tears unnaturally, or, you know, imperfectly, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And then I'm going to go this way and I'm going to measure 11 because I just need an 8.5 by 11 sheet. Okay, and then 11 is this block here. So I'm going to go ahead and tear off maybe a 1/2 inch because this is a 12 by 12. So I'm going to do a 1/2 inch on this side. And I'm just going to tear it. My other tear ruler is in the car because I've been going back and forth to my daughter's this week and taking stuff with me. And then I'm going to come over here and do a 1/2 inch on this side. And that'll give me the 11 I'm looking for. Like that. Okay, so now that I have my paper the right size, I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it because it's actually, I'm just going to do some random folds. And the reason I'm going to do that is to give it that more aged look. So I'm just going to fold maybe right across here, maybe fold it up from the bottom, you know, just a little bit. No big deal where it's at. Then I'm going to fold it that way, and then I'm going to fold it this way because this paper is a little bit thicker of a paper. So if you need to, you can take your bone folder, do your crease, you know. And then I might do on this corner, I might do a little dog ear, and then another little fold there. So let's start with these. Before we go any further, let's just go ahead and start with these, and we'll try to just age up this whole page just to kind of see what it looks like. So I've got my fold, so I'm going to take my fold, my first fold. So there's 2 folds there. I'm going to take my first fold, taking my ink dauber. I haven't dabbed it back into the ink yet because I just need a tiny bit of ink. And I'm just going to kind of touch right there so that when you unfold it, you have just enough to let you know that that was a fold, and it was probably, you know, dirty from years of time where fingers have touched it and left their oils on there. And, you know, then the dust gathers on that little crease mark. Okay, for the edges, I'm going to go ahead and go around the edges of it. And you can use one of these. This is like a distress tool, or you can use your scissors. And I would just open up my scissors and kind of go like this and just kind of rough up the edges a little. But if you do have one of these, you know, then it's a little easier than scissors, but you can still do it just fine with scissors. So you can just kind of go around the edges like this and rough it up a little. And then I'm just going to take my ink dauber and I'm just going to pat. Sometimes if you want a little more ink on it, you can go up and down like this instead of going this way. You know, most of the time when I see people inking something, they're, you know, rubbing it this way. But if you go this way, you know, and you don't do it in every single spot, it just gives it a little more authenticity to it. So I'm just going to do little bits here and there. I know that a lot of people like to do the haloing on the, like the very edge where it looks like it's, you know, it's rounded. But to me, that's not as natural looking as if you just do the corners or the edges of the pages. So I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around and ink around the edges because y'all kind of know how to do that. And then we'll come back. Okay, so I've got the edges of that done, and it's very subtle. But to me, when you find a very old, aged paper, it does have subtle aging on it. All right, so we're going to go with this crease here. Now that we have this crease in here, I'm going to bend it backwards and forwards, and that way it looks a little more real, like, you know, like it's been laying there like that for a while. And then I'm just going to fold it down, taking my ink, and I'm just going to kind of dab in different places, but not in a straight line. So it's a little lighter over here and maybe a little darker over here so that it doesn't look so manufactured. And you can again do this in your creases, kind of like in these where you see these creases. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of ink on this. Again, I'm just dabbing in different places. And you can do it front and back if you want to, and that way it looks a little more real. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this backwards, crease it again there, and then touch it with my ink dauber. And again, I'm just touching, and I'm not touching, you know, I'm not like scrubbing in the ink, you know. And so when you lay that down, it looks like it's just a crease that's been there for a while. You know, it's just not so much that it's an overwhelming amount, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this crease a little too. And then another thing that you can do is, if you notice in some of the digitals that I had, you can see like the natural creases. Some of them look like, let me find one. Okay, so like this one. So you can tell it's kind of like been crinkled a little right there at some point in its life, you know, folded right there a little bit. So you can just take your paper and just do random creasing. So basically, I just kind of take my paper and just kind of crinkle it like that. And you don't want to do it in too many spots like that, but this is going to give you a little bit more of an aged look, because I'm just going to take the dabber, whatever you call it. And I'm going to not unfold this all the way, but just a little. And then I am literally just going to touch this dauber to this paper and let the crinkles pick up what ink it will. And sometimes you have to play with it a little to get it to pick up. I think it's a little harder with this because there's a pattern on this paper. But let me see. But even if you just do it like that and you just put little bits here and there, you know, and what I'm doing is I'm finding places to where there's almost a crease, and I'm just letting that ink pick up that crease just a little bit. Okay, so then once you unfold it, you have more of a naturally aged look, because over time that crease won't be there, but the ink will be. So then I'm going to take it and I'm going to crease it maybe right here. And even if it's just one spot that you're creasing or crinkling, and then just kind of dab it a little here and there with the dauber, just leaving little bits of that ink behind. And then you can even rub over it too to kind of give it a more natural look. But to me now, this paper looks a lot older than what it actually is, because this is a new scrapbooking page or paper, but you've aged it a little and given it some age. So even when you open it up, you can see some of the creasing. And you know, this creasing doesn't have the ink in it, but you can still see the creasing. You can see the creasing here. I'm hoping my lighting is picking it up okay. But you can see some of the creasing there. So it just doesn't look like a pristine, perfect piece of paper. It looks like it's been through some things in its life, so to speak. Okay, and then the last thing I told y'all I was going to show you to do, or show you that you can do, is like your little holes. And you don't have to have one that has a hole in it already. You can make a hole anywhere, and you can use, I have an awl, I have little pokey tools. If you don't have any of that, take you a paper clip and straighten it out and poke it through it that way. But I'm going to see if I can make this little piece here look like it's supposed to be there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this way first, so I know the general vicinity that I need to poke through. And then I'm just going to kind of wiggle this around in there, and then go over and look, make it a little bigger. And basically what I'm trying to do is just kind of tear that paper all the way around to kind of go with the area that's, you know, that copied white in there. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of keep ripping. All right, so that's pretty good, I think. And then to make it just a little bit older, I'm going to take my ink and I'm going to kind of fold my paper. I'm going to manipulate my paper, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to crease it, just kind of manipulate the paper where you can get to these areas. And then I am literally taking my ink dauber and I'm just putting little bits of ink around the edges there. Okay, just barely touching it just to get some ink on there. And then I'm going to unfold it and look at it. And like this one looks a little bit unnatural, so I'm going to go ahead and tear that little piece out so that it's kind of a little bit more natural of a bigger hole, and that not all of this excess is left. I probably should have done this before I inked, but that's okay. And so you see how this piece here is actually folded down. So I'm going to kind of fold it so that I can get to that and just put a little ink in there, just dabbing. Oh, sorry. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just dabbing a little bit of ink in there. And then like right here, could use a little ink. So I'm just kind of manipulating the paper so that I can get to those edges. So I'm going to kind of fold that a little bit like that. And then just barely touch it with the ink dauber. Just getting a little bit of ink on there. Okay. So now I'm going to unfold it and just kind of see what that looks like. And it looks like that hole has been there a while, because you've got the little ink around the edges, so it looks like, you know, it's aged up. And then you can take your little crinkled areas wherever you crinkled your paper. So let's just do it like that. Okay, and you don't have to do big crinkles if you don't want to, but I'm just going to barely take my ink dauber and touch in a few places just to kind of add a little bit of ink here and there. Get that crease, and maybe a little bit on this crease. I hope y'all can see me okay. It's a little hard to do this on camera. Okay, like so. And you don't have to get all of the creases or the crinkles, but if you look at that, you know, it looks like that's been there a while. And then when you fold this up like a journal page or a document, however you're going to use this, then it looks like it's an old piece. So those are my tricks and techniques. I'll show you a couple of these. These are a couple of the ones that I've already done. You know, this one on this digital has that fold line in it, so I just highlighted that fold line. And then on this one, I did some of the crinkling. I did a little hole. It had a fold line too, so I just kind of highlighted the fold line a little. I did some dog ears on the edges. So those are just a few tips and tricks that you can do to age up your papers. And just realize that you don't need as much ink as you thought you did. You know, you don't have to ink all the way around the edges. Like on this one, I did not ink all the way around the edges of this paper. I just kind of went around and dabbed here and there, and it gives it enough to make it look authentically aged. So hopefully that gives you some ideas of some things that you can do to kind of give your papers a more aged look. So we have, you know, the coffee dyed paper that we did. We've got the book page that we did. And I would, with this one, I would go ahead and fold the crease backwards too, and just kind of dab some ink on this one, on this side too. And that way it looks like, you know, it's been folded like that for a while. So anyways, those are just a few tips and tricks I wanted to share with you. And if you have any tips and tricks of things that you do to naturally age your papers, put them in the comments below, because I am always up for good ideas. So, and if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them in the comment box below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for me if you will, and check out the links that I've added in the description box. And I hope y'all have a great day. Big hugs.